So this recording session is on correcting errors. Now we all make errors. You can see even in the little templates that I've created, I've had errors and I've had to go back and correct them while I have been talking to you. I do apologize for not going and starting the recording all over again, but these recordings take me several hours. So when I do make an error, you'll see I just go back and correct it. So I do apologize about the errors that I make. But making errors is absolutely inevitable in any manual accounting process. Even on an electronic accounting system, you're still going to make errors. And where possible, errors should be corrected using a general journal entry. Even if the error is achieved by actually rewriting the whole transaction, taking the transaction out and rewriting the whole transaction. So when you take a transaction out, you just reverse all the entries that you had and then you put them into the correct accounts. But let's look in your books on page 101. Better put my glasses on. Okay, we're on page 101 and we've got here specific examples. So you've got to know that when an amount includes GST, you'll probably find the GST has been recorded in the correct account. So there's absolutely no need for you to make a change with the GST when no change is required. Okay, so there's a note that they put on page 101 that says GST accounts will need to be amended only when the error affects GST collected or GST paid. So in other words, if the error doesn't affect GST collected or GST paid, you don't have to do anything on that account. So the first example A is the sale of goods on credit to Don Keel of $3,300, including GST of $300, was erroneously posted to Don King. So to make the change, we need to make sure that into Don Keel's account goes $3,300, but we need to take it out of Don King's account where we originally put it in error. So in other words, we are increasing Don Keel and decreasing Don King. Pretty simple correction there. Correction number 2, in other words, B. This is an incorrect allocation amount. So a stationery of $1,100 purchased on credit from Office Supplies Limited was incorrectly debited to inventory. So inventory was increased by $1,000 and it shouldn't have gone into inventory. So we've got to take $1,000 out of inventory and instead we've got to put it into stationery. Now with these two accounts, this one here we included GST because GST is always entered into the accounts receivable account because the accounts receivable, the debtor, owes the whole amount of money. When we originally entered the transaction in error, the transaction would have looked like this. We would have, just widening my columns, we would have put into inventory $1,000. We would have recorded GST paid as $100. And we then would have paid the money out of the bank, $1,100. Okay, and then we would have said stationery purchased. Okay, so just to show you, so you can understand what the transaction looked like when we first entered the transaction. So this is the error. Okay, whoopsie. It'd be handy if I spelled error correctly. That's the error in the transaction, and just so that we can match what we're doing with everything else. So you can see that GST paid, regardless as to whether we had recorded this as inventory or stationery, okay, would have stayed in the right place. So just because we are now putting it in stationery, there's nothing that needs to be done to GST paid. So it's just putting the $1,000 into stationery and taking the $1,000 out of our inventory account. Hence the GST is not touched. Number C in your books on page 102 is the incorrect allocation account. So a check for $2,750 received for the sale of office furniture was incorrectly posted to the sales account. So remember, this is just a check for the payment of goods. The GST, it's not telling you anything differently about the GST other than that the GST is recorded correctly. So take the GST out of the transaction. So 2,750 minus the 250 GST gives you $2,500. So we need to make sure that it is taken out of the sales account. And we know from chapter 14 that when we sell furniture, we don't put it in the furniture account, we put the proceeds of that money into the disposal account. So $2,500 has to go into the disposal account. And finally, our error number D, which is the incorrect amount. So a sales invoice for $2,200 in the name of R. Wood was entered incorrectly as 220 and posted as such. I'm just going to do my workings here. It should have been 2,200, and instead we have put it in as 220. So what is the difference? What should we have put in? Well, we should have put in 1,980. That is the total amount. But our GST component is obviously going to be the total amount divided by 11, which means that the sales amount will be the total amount minus the GST amount. Okay, so that you understand, this is the actual value that we should have put in. This is the value we did put in. This is the difference between the correct and incorrect. This is the GST, and it's GST collected of the difference. So this figure here would be the actual sales. So if we go to put the transactions into accounts receivable, we need to add another 1,980. This is made up of $1,800 of sales, and it's also made up of $180 of GST collected. You can see the narrations. Please don't forget your narrations in your transactions. This one here is a correction of incorrect posting to Don King, Folio 8, sales coming from the sales journal. This one here is the correction of error, wrong account debited. This one here, correction or error correction, incorrectly posted to sales account. And this one here, just correction of error. You are now ready to complete self-test exercise 10 on page 103. Thank you.